Welcome to the Respectful Divorce Podcast. If you're considering divorce, it's important to know that you have options for how you divorce. On the Respectful Divorce Podcast, we explore those options and provide advice from divorce professionals. I'm your host, Tim Crouch, and today we're talking with members of the Memphis Collaborative Divorce Alliance. Joining us today are Cindy MacAulay, the president of the Alliance and a divorce financial professional, and collaborative divorce attorney Amy Amundsen. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
So, a simple question to start. Why or how did you all get involved in family law? Cindy, you're not an attorney, so it's perhaps a different kind of story about how you got involved in family law.
I think I just got lucky. I mean, that's the short answer. It was forever ago, and an attorney, I worked for a CPA firm, and an attorney came in with a bunch of boxes, which had about 7 years worth of financial documents in it, and said, my client had $1 million coming into the marriage, and now she doesn't have any left. I need you to tell me what happened to it. And that's how I started. That was my first case, and it actually went to trial.
Amy, how'd you get into family law?
Well, I'd like to say that I came from a pedigree of family lawyers. I didn't. In law school, I ended up getting a law clerk position with a law firm, and it was a general practice law firm that did all types of practice. And I worked hard during the summer. Then they offered me a position as an associate, and I continued to work for them doing all sorts of cases. And what kept coming my way was the family law cases. So after 3 years, they made me partner, and I just had a lot of family law cases in my portfolio. So I ended up kind of finding my niche that way.
Yeah. Did you think when you were in law school that your career would be in family law?
No, I love math. So I wanted to do something with math. And I also have some languages. So I wanted to do something involving international cases. So family law affords you that opportunity because you have child abduction cases that go through the Hague Convention, et cetera.
Yeah.
And couples that now, live overseas and work overseas.
Yeah. So how did you both move to collaborative? Cindy, you're talking about that first one was a litigated case and went to trial, all of that. How'd you end up on the collaborative side?
I was in Charleston, South Carolina at the time, and there was a collaborative group there, and an attorney that I had a litigation case with kind of talked about the process, and I thought it was a great process, and I went and got trained, and then I moved to Memphis about 8 years ago, and that was my first contact was with the Memphis Collaborative Alliance to join their group. That was 8 years ago.
And now you're president.
And now I'm president, thanks to Amy.
So Amy, for you, how did collaborative become part of your practice?
Well, it was an intentional move because I left the litigation arena when COVID hit, and decided to have a virtual law firm in which I would use alternate dispute resolution as part of my practice. And I became heavily involved with the collaborative process.
Yeah. So why does collaborative work? And some people say it's far better than litigation. Why does it work? Why is it better than the litigated process, Amy?
Well, I think it protects children from the stress and conflict by having a neutral mental health person involved. It preserves the finances. Cindy can talk more about that, of the parties. And I think it provides a confidential and private arena where the parties can resolve their differences in a respectful manner.
And I guess one of those things is that they get to make the decisions instead of letting a judge make decisions, right?
Not only do they get to make decisions over their future, but we listen to their interests, and it's more of an interest-based discussions than the lawyers telling them what the law is and kind of guiding them through the process of subpoenaing and taking depositions. At the front end, you tell them that, and they have to agree if they want to go through the collaborative process, that they will not use the court system or threaten to go to court. Obviously, if they can't resolve it, then they need new counsel and they proceed to court.
Yeah. Cindy, your role as the financial professional, my wife, as many people know, is a collaborative attorney. She says the secret sauce in a collaborative case is the financial professional, because they're the ones that are able to solve maybe the most complex kinds of decisions that need to be made. What do you do in your role as a financial professional in a collaborative case?
I think that a big part of our role as the financial neutral is to try to educate everybody. Because a lot of times in a marriage, there's one person that handles a majority of the finances, not all the time. But so, you're going through the divorce process and there's already, they're going through an emotional time. And my job is to try to educate them, both parties, on what all the finances are. The good thing in the collaborative process is I have access to everyone. And so I can ask questions, I can get documents. There's only one person doing that, as opposed to litigation where there's usually two people doing that. And try to give them the information that they need to try to make a decision. And I can give them, sometimes there's a valuation issue. I can help them come up with some settlement options based on what the assets are, what the debts are. Are there any tax issues involved? Just trying to help them at overall settlement at the end of the day.
I think Cindy also adds, being a financial neutral, first of all, it reduces the cost. Both sides don't need to obtain a financial neutral. And in the educating process, she does projections and produces those at the sessions where, these are unbiased assessments, and she speaks freely to both of them at the same time, so they understand how the material is being presented and they understand the material. So I really think it's a superior way, high quality product at the very end, because, as Cindy said, both parties now understand the finances and the consequences of what they choose in the process of which asset they want and why.
And I guess as you talk about those projections, what I sort of love about the process when I hear people talking about it is you begin to get a picture of what your post-divorce life financially will look like. And that has to bring a great deal of calm to the process.
Yeah, that's definitely part of my job, is to try to, forecast a little bit what things will look like for both parties post-divorce. What are they going to have on a monthly basis? What do their assets look like? What is it going to look like if they can let their assets sit there and, gain interest over the next, 10 years? What is their future going to look like? And I think a lot of people need to see that.
That may be maybe the scariest part of a divorce is not knowing what your future is.
And I think through the collaborative process, you can bring in additional experts. You can bring in tax experts. You can also bring in, if there's a closely held corporation that wants a legacy of the company, say it's a mother and father started the company, their kids are working in it, they want their grandchildren to work in there, you could bring in a corporate attorney and a estate planning attorney. And at the end of the case, not only do they have their estate planning work already completed, but the divorce, and in a much more efficient way and a quicker way.
So you all have done this for a while. How have you seen the collaborative process make a difference in your clients' lives versus if it had gone through the litigated process? Cindy?
I mean, I think it's a huge difference. I think that sometimes it's not the easiest up front because everybody's in it together. You know, a lot of our meetings are all together. And sometimes when people are going through the divorce process, that's not the easiest thing. But it's definitely, for the future of that relationship and the relationship if there's kids involved, like dealing with those things up front and being able to talk to one another in the same room and with a mental health person there and their lawyers, it is a, I can't explain it. One thing I will say is to date, all of my cases have resolved in the collaborative process. I haven't had one that has not been resolved, and that kind of tells a story in itself.
Speaks volumes about the process.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it also speaks volume on the evaluation component at the beginning to determine which client is best for the process, because not every case should go the collaborative process. And I think if you're honest with yourself and honest with the potential client, you're going to let them know on the front end, you've got too much anger, you've got too much, this is not a collaborative case. And evaluating your client at the front end will give you greater success of the process.
Yeah. And Amy, as you've seen it with your clients, what kind of a difference has it made in their lives?
Oh, they get resolution much quicker, cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
They have, as Cindy said, they have a financial neutral and a financial divorce coach on speed dial. They can call up and get immediate attention because why? Everyone's driving to have harmony and to have a resolution. And I think it's a wonderful process for people that are emotionally intelligent to resolve their divorce case.
So we're doing this podcast, the Respectful Divorce Podcast, before Divorce with Respect Week. What does respect in a divorce look like? What does that mean to y'all?
They are civil to one another. They are willing to listen to professionals, giving them suggestions that they, even though they may disagree, and they have had heated meetings. Cindy has been present for a few of those, but they're willing to understand that this is a process. And let's put everything in perspective, that we're here to crunch numbers and figure out where to get to the goal line based on the interests and their goals that they have.
Wow. Cindy, for you, as you think about respect in a divorce, what does that mean or look like?
I think, it's all the things that Amy said. I think it's just, treating people right and not always, you're not having to go through the legal process and all that goes with that. I mean, it's still a legal process, but it's a different process. And it's one that communication is huge. And, Amy said something about, one of the benefits being that it gets over quicker. And I think that is because we set up timelines, and everybody participates in that. And if somebody isn't acting right, there might be a heated moment. The mental health professional is there to help with that, because obviously this is probably the worst time that these parties are going to have in their lives, and there's going to be some heated moments every once in a while. And I think that you can have it heated, but you can still be respectful and, okay, let's take a minute and go to another room, and then come back and let's revisit this, or maybe we're done for today. And I think it's just being open, being honest, and I guess open communication and nice to the other person.
Tim, in Tennessee, we have a Supreme Court rule that governs our collaborative process. Section 12 requires full disclosure of all assets and debts, even contingent assets and liabilities. There is no other alternate dispute resolutions process that requires that, where it's Cindy, a financial neutral, that gathers the documents, and the clients have to produce the records, all records, and Cindy will inquire about that, and they have to sign an oath that they have given full and fair disclosure and honest disclosure. One of the things, people can go to mediation, and many a times discovery isn't completed, or they haven't, they don't know what the full and fair, the full discovery or the financial portfolio before they settle.
Cindy, if you would, tell us a little more about the Memphis Collaborative Divorce Alliance.
Well, we have representation for the legal community, from the financial neutral, and from several mental health professionals. We have a good bit of meetings within the group to talk about the community and our various collaborative law cases, so we can learn from those, learn that maybe Amy's given a few examples to us as bringing other professionals into a collaborative case and what that looks like and how that can be helpful. I feel like we are social group, so we kind of, get together socially as well as professionally. And something that I feel like we are always working on is to get the word out about how great of a process this can be. And so we spend time in the Memphis Collaborative group on how do we get the word out? How do we how do we get more people to understand what this process is and how good it can benefit? And I think this Divorce with Respect Week is a great way to publicize nationally what this process can be.
So if anybody would like to get in touch with either one of you, what's the best way to reach you?
You can go to www.memphiscollaborativedivorcealliance.com and go to my website, my individual website, and ask for an appointment.
And we will put all of that contact information, those links, in the show notes, along with a link to the divorcewithrespectweek.com site. Thank you both for joining us today on the Respectful Divorce Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This important programming note, Divorce with Respect Week is March 3rd through 9th. During Divorce with Respect Week, you can talk with lawyers, divorce coaches, and divorce financial professionals for free. To learn more about the divorce process and your options, simply go to divorcewithrespectweek.com to find professionals near you. That's divorcewithrespectweek.com. I'm Tim Crouch, reminding you that collaborative divorce is a better way to untie the knot.